Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Catania Alvin, and I think this is a fantastic thing that's just President Trump has just signed an executive order, and this is about actually the renewal of the rejuvenation of certain places. Now let's just read down here. Executive order establishing the White House Opportunity and Rejuvenation Council, which is fantastic. That, will do a tremendous amount of good.
Hello, everybody. Good, Tim. Good. It's a big day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order launching a new White House Opportunity. This is a very big thing that Tim and I and everybody have been working on for a long time. And Revitalization Council. This council will coordinate efforts across the entire federal government to deliver jobs, investment, and growth to the communities that need it the most. With the creation of today's council, the resources of the whole federal government will be leveraged to rebuild low-income and impoverished neighborhoods that have been ignored by Washington in years past. Our goal is to ensure that America's great new prosperity is broadly shared by all of our citizens. Our country is doing better than ever economically, and we're able to do that. I'm thrilled to announce that our new council will be led by Secretary Ben Carson, who is here with us today.
Oh, he's lovely. He really does have the most beautiful smile.
Also with us is Secretary Stephen Mnuchin and Secretary Wilbur Ross, who will both serve on the council and play a critical role in its work. The council will focus its efforts on opportunity zones, a crucial part of tax cuts that we passed last year. Under our new tax cuts, any distressed area that is designated as an opportunity zone will receive massive incentives for private sector investment, including zero capital gains tax on any investment held for at least 10 years. We're honored to be joined today by the person who led the fight to include opportunity zones in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and that is Senator Tim Scott. Thank you. We're also joined by Roger Campos of the Minority Business Roundtable.
Have you noticed that President Trump always gives credit, so much credit for people, and names them? He really shows his appreciation.
Along with Jimmy Kemp. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it. That's great. Pastor Darrell Scott, friend of mine for a long time. Where's Darrell? Darrell. Bishop Harry Jackson. Harry, that's great. And local officials from Baltimore, Maryland, Norfolk, Virginia, and Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. For decades, job growth and investment have been concentrated in a few major metropolitan areas. This has created a geographic disparity, a very big one in many cases, where some cities have thrived while others have suffered chronic economic and social hardship. With opportunity zones, we're drawing investment into neglected and underserved communities of America so that all Americans, regardless of zip code, have access to the American dream.
That's wonderful.
Governors know their local needs best. Following the enactment of our tax law, America's governors designated nearly 9,000 neighborhoods as opportunity zones, from communities in the rural West Virginia to suburban Arizona to inner city Chicago. The Treasury Department has estimated that as a result of these tax incentives, private businesses will invest $100 billion in opportunity zones.
Fantastic.
And that will be incredible.
$100 billion.
This council will support communities like East Baltimore, where Pastor Dante Hickman is helping lead a groundbreaking project in the newly designated Opportunity Zone. I'd like to invite Pastor Hickman to say a few words about today's initiative. He's been an incredible leader, a man of faith, and somebody that we all believe very strongly in. Pastor, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am here today thanking you in advance for funding and resources that you will direct to the in distressed communities like Baltimore. The executive order you signed today will make it possible for us to work with your administration on a common goal of investing to restore people as we rebuild properties in neglected communities. As pastor of the Southern Baptist Church and through our Mary Harvin Transformation Center Community Development Corporation, in partnership with other faith-based stakeholder institutions, developed the East Baltimore Revitalization Plan, addressing development needs of over 100 acres just north of Johns Hopkins Hospital, and was recently approved and adopted by the City Planning Department of Baltimore. Our area has been federally designated as an opportunity zone, and this bipartisan legislation can leverage public and private funding towards community revitalization. Your influence on federal agencies and private entities through this executive order will enable distressed communities like Broadway East in Baltimore to obtain investment needed to capitalize and bridge funding gaps to create sustainable health, wealth, housing, educational, recreational, grocery, and employment opportunities. It will strengthen small, emerging, and other businesses, as well as enable financial support of historically black colleges and universities like Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, where I attended. Mr. President, I want you and every agency and potential investor to know that in Baltimore, and in particular Broadway East Baltimore, that we have the plan, we have the property, we have the people, we have the professional expertise, and we have the prospectus to jumpstart your urban initiative. Baltimore is prepared to be a demonstration project for a national urban revitalization strategy. We look forward to working with your administration on rebuilding opportunity in our urban communities that have suffered from disinvestment and dilapidation for decades. And we welcome you to come to Baltimore to see the potential transformative impact of your leadership and investment through this executive order. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor.
Now, I have here Melania doing her bit. Let me slide it over. And she's at Langley Air Force. Here we go.
Good morning. Thank you for the kind introduction, Deputy Secretary Shanahan. I want to start by thanking the Joint Base Langley UTIS for having us here. I'm looking forward to spending time with you and your families today. When preparing for this stop, I learned that this base is more than 100 years old and has a long history of excellence. I also learned that the airmen and soldiers in this room have set up after natural disasters like Hurricane Michael, and that many of you have recently returned home from deployment. I'm honored to be able to say welcome home, and thank you for answering the call of duty. I have said this before, but it's worth repeating. We know that we are free because you are brave, and I speak on behalf of my husband when I tell you we are forever grateful for your service. I also want to take a moment to recognize the families of those who serve. We know that you often endure time apart, which also comes with a degree of uncertainty. And
I'm going to have to finish it there. God bless two wonderful people. I'm a Brit, but you have them for your First Lady and President. God bless you all.